on the Wink News Nightbeat.
4 robberies all within miles of each other. And tonight we're hearing from one of the victims.
I can't believe that I was just that close to dying.
What she says the 2 teens police say are responsible did. New details tonight into the apparent suicide of Florida millionaire Jeffrey Epstein, who's now taken over the investigation, and what's next. A Fort Myers boy battling leukemia for the 3rd time in his young life.
We will never stop fighting for him, for others.
How the community came together to raise money to pay for his treatments. And this photo sparking controversy tonight in Southwest Florida. A police officer stops for a burger and gets this nasty drawing on his wrapper. What you're saying about this?
After a rainy late morning, early afternoon, we had a very lovely and dry evening that stays that way for tonight. Can see a few showers right along the coast overnight tonight as you sleep, but look at tomorrow morning, 7 a.m. Few rain showers right along the coast, and then we see better rain chances late in the morning and once again early tomorrow afternoon. I'll let you know where the rain showers are heading, when they'll come to an end, and if we have a different weather pattern next week, all when I come back.
An exclusive here on the Wink News Nightbeat. This couple says they are victims in a series of robberies in Lee County. They happened at a bank ATM, 2 convenience stores yesterday in Cape Coral and North Fort Myers. Michelle Goslin says she was sitting at the 7-Eleven when she says she had a gun pointed at her head. The Nightbeat's Morgan Reiner is live outside the store now. Morgan, the couple says this is a very scary experience for them.
That's right. They say their lives flashed before their eyes. Both of them either had a gun physically pushed against their head or pointed right at them, and they felt completely helpless. Now they want to warn everyone to be more aware of their surroundings. Michelle Goslin says she was sitting in her car early Friday morning while she waited for her boyfriend inside of the 7-Eleven.
Before I knew it, the car opened, and I just kind of assumed that it was him. And next thing I know, there was a gun to my head. He was holding it right at my temple, and he said, "Give me everything you've got."
But Goslin's purse was in the back of the car.
I just said, "I don't have anything." And then so he kind of reared back and hit it again into my head and said, "Give me everything that you have now."
At the same time, Goslin had a gun pointed at her head. This bank statement shows her boyfriend, Austin Garrett, had just made a purchase inside of the 7-Eleven. He said a masked teen demanded money from the clerk.
She kept to tell him no. He then fired off a shot.
Garrett says he slowly backed up and hid behind a display.
And then that's when he turned his attention on me, pointed the gun at me, and then he demanded for my wallet because everything I had was just in my hands. So, not a problem. Wallet's not worth my life.
Both Goslin and Garrett are unclear if it was the sound of sirens that made the 2 masked teens, later identified by police as Noah Vole and Jaheim Levet, run away, but they were thankful no one got hurt.
I got out of the car, and he just came like running over to me and, like hugged, and I started just crying.
But while filling out paperwork with police, Goslin says the realization of what just happened took over her body.
Next thing I know, I was on the ground, and they sprayed some stuff up my nose and had me on a gurney back to the hospital.
Paperwork from Cape Coral Hospital confirms Goslin had a seizure.
For that couple. And now, Morgan, we always say be aware of your surroundings. With stories like this, what does Goslin have to say about that?
Yeah, well, Goslin says if she wasn't looking at her phone, she may have noticed the masked teen walking into the 7-Eleven, and she could have called the police or even locked her own door. But now she wants justice to be served. But more importantly, she wants those 2 teens to learn from their behavior. I'm live on the Nightbeat. Morgan Reiner, Wink News Now.
Well, thank you, Morgan. The 7-Eleven was just 2 of the 4 robberies the teens are accused of committing. It all started at the Achieva Credit Union on off Del Prado in Cape Coral. Investigators say the 2 then headed to the 7-Eleven where Morgan was, and then went to a mobile gas station in North Fort Myers. Investigators arrested Noah Vole and Jaheim Lovett at the Motel 6 in North Fort Myers yesterday afternoon. Vole is charged with robbery with a firearm and aggravated assault. Jaheim is charged with robbery with a firearm. And check this out. DeSoto County Sheriff's deputies say this is a live grenade. It was found in the car of a convicted felon, Donald Reed Jr. Deputies say it's an M67 hand grenade with the pin still in place. The Sarasota County Sheriff's Office bomb squad responded to ensure the grenade was safe for removal and destruction. Reed was also found in possession of other firearms and ammunition. He remains in jail tonight. The FBI now taking over the investigation into the apparent suicide of Florida millionaire Jeffrey Epstein. Epstein died this morning after investigators say he hanged himself in his jail cell in New York City. Epstein was awaiting trial on sex trafficking charges and sexually abusing dozens of underage girls. He tried to commit suicide last month and was placed on suicide watch. However, he wasn't on the watch in the last few days. A Nebraska senator says heads will roll for this.
I can tell you that on behalf of the victims I've represented, there's a certain amount of shock and disbelief that the federal authorities could allow something like this to occur under their watch.
A trial date had been set for June 2020. Before his death, Epstein's lawyers had argued the new charges against him were covered by a controversial 2008 plea deal, which Epstein only served 13 months here in Florida, mostly on work release. And Senator Rick Scott calling for the Federal Bureau of Prisons to provide answers into Epstein's death. He sent a letter saying that the victims are not being allowed to get justice. He wants to know why it happened and, quote, criminal acts allowed this coward to deny justice to his victims. So what happens next for the victims in the Epstein case? A criminal defense attorney in West Palm Beach says he doubts the victims will get justice. That's because Epstein will no longer have his day in court, allowing the victims to speak out, but officials say they will continue this investigation. As for the investigation into the secret deal, he thinks that process won't stop, considering it involves so many state officials. Well, developing here on the Nightbeat, how did this car end up in the water at the Punta Rasa boat ramp at the Sanibel Causeway? A Week News viewer submitted this photo. As you can see, an antenna is barely sticking out of the water there. The viewer says no one was in the car at the time. We reached out to law enforcement, but haven't heard back. To the latest in the Terror in America attacks, there were more than 100 people hitting the streets of El Paso denouncing racism and calling for stronger gun laws. It's been exactly 1 week since investigators say Patrick Crucius opened fire inside a Walmart, killing 22 people. People dressed in white to symbolize peace and carrying 22 white wooden crosses to represent the victims of the shooting. The group, along with Latino leaders, are demanding the Texas legislature take up bans on assault weapons.
He might have shot me, but he did not take my pride. He did not take anything from me. I'm fighting. And that's what I want everybody here to do.
Investigators say Crucius told them he was the shooter and was targeting Mexicans. They say he walked into the Walmart with an AK-47 and started shooting last Saturday. The victims of the other mass shooting, that one in Dayton, Ohio, being laid to rest. Services for 5 of the victims were held today. 9 people in all were killed when investigators say Connor Bent opened fire in a busy downtown area. One of those killed was the shooter's sister. Investigators are not sure what led up to the shooting, but say the shooter was misogynistic and created a rape list in high school. Uphold survivors in the Orlando community coming together to honor the victims of those mass shootings and calling for an end to gun violence across the country. The vigil included reading aloud the names of the 31 victims killed last weekend in Texas and Ohio. Also in attendance was a survivor of the Parkland school shootings. Kyra Pyros says people shouldn't accept mass shootings as a new way of life.
Attending 6 funerals before I graduated high school is not normal. Having policemen guard my high school with AR-15s is not normal.
The Orange County Sheriff, who's seen firsthand how mass shootings affect a community, says that while he has seen progress with the state's gun laws, more needs to be done. Another rally calling for an end to gun violence set for next weekend at the Orlando City Hall. Now, despite pleas by several people, this gun show in Pembroke Pines near Miami is still going on this weekend. Many are upset it's being held just days after the shooting in El Paso and Dayton. The city says they didn't want the gun show, but their attorney says they had to do it because of a state law that prohibits elected officials from making laws about guns. The show wraps up tomorrow and will be held again next year. Well, one Florida lawmaker trying to make colleges safer from mass shootings, Lake County Representative Anthony Sabatini is proposing a law that would allow students to carry guns on college campuses. Carrying guns on college campuses is not currently legal in Florida. More than 2 million people in Florida have a carry and conceal permit. The bill would be introduced in the 2020 session, which starts in January.
Wink News, the weather authority.
We are staying warm overnight tonight. Temperatures currently 82 degrees. Fort Myers 84 in Naples. A complete breakdown of what's in store for Sunday is coming up.
It's Southwest Florida's largest school district's Back to School Bash, why this year's event is more than just fun and games. Plus, where and when you can get your kids back to school shots for free. Weather Authority, it was pretty humid today, but there's something exciting happening right up above us, right?
Yeah, in fact, finally the clouds are clearing, and we talked about this yesterday on Wink News. You could see Saturn, you could see, of course, the moon, but also Jupiter, all in a line.
Zach, well, Wink News is your back-to-school headquarters today. Lee County held its back-to-school bash at Bell Tower. Parents got a chance to get everything from school supplies to learn more about bus stop safety. The Nightbeat's Brea Hollingsworth takes us there.
Whether they're walking to school, taking the bus, or riding their bike.
Looking good, buddy.
Lee County Schools wants to make sure your child is prepared for safety this upcoming school year. The school district, along with Safe Kids Southwest Florida and the Lee County Sheriff's Office, held the first and largest back-to-school block party for students. Lee County Sheriff Carmine Marcino says they wanted to increase efforts to promote safety, especially as students commute to school.
Safe Kids, Safe Schools means when your kid leaves the front door, on their way to the bus, on the bus to school, all the way till they get back, Safe Kids, Safe Schools, and our children are going to be safe in our county.
Lee County School Superintendent Greg Atkins says they've put a major emphasis on bus stop safety. This year, they've put benches at various bus stops around Cape Coral and are also working to add more lighting.
Our Rotary clubs have been wonderful to partnership with the school district and also our municipalities to help put, these benches at a bus stop, which is fantastic.
Mom Nakia Pierce says her son will be fully prepared when he rides the school bus this year.
He has a light on the back of his backpack. They passed out last year at school, which I thought was great. And they've gone over safety stuff at school with him for bus stops.
In hopes that more students are safe as they head to school. In Fort Myers, Brea Hollingsworth, Wink News Now.
A full event there. Well, students participated in tons of activities at the event. Many learned how to properly use sidewalks and where to ride bikes. And before school starts next week, students going into kindergarten, 7th grade, or college need to get vaccines or booster shots. The health department in Lee County is still offering walk-in free back-to-school shots. Here are the walk-in clinic hours for the health department in Fort Myers. You can go Monday and Tuesday from 7 to 4. Well, this Winter Park man in jail tonight after investigators say he posted he was about to get his semi-automatic rifles back and people should stay away from Walmart. The FDLE says Richard Clayton posted the threat on Facebook yesterday. They say Clayton appears to believe in white supremacist ideology and has a history of posting threats on Facebook. The FBI received a tip about Clayton on Tuesday. Investigators say this man, Connor Climo, was planning to attack people of the Jewish faith and the LGBTQ community. They say they found bomb-making materials at his home in Las Vegas. FBI agents say he told them he was planning to attack a synagogue there and a gay bar in downtown Las Vegas. In Campaign Central tonight, the Democratic presidential candidates spending their weekend at the Iowa State Fair. Voters in the crowd have become near and far to hear these political pitches.
I'm at the Iowa State Fair!
9 candidates took to the so-called soapbox today, and even more are expected tomorrow. They focused on a number of issues, including gun control and their ties to the Midwest. Voters in Iowa like to get familiar with the candidates before they caucus in February, the very first state to weigh in, and the candidates are wasting no time to get their message out.
We must turn the page, and this election is about more than that, because obviously dude gotta go.
People in Iowa want to make sure they want to test everybody's mettle. They want to see people in the flesh. It's actually a very inspiring thing.
Here's an interesting note. Since 1980, more than half of the candidates who won an early voting event in Iowa went on to win their party's nomination.
Now, from Southwest Florida's news leader, this is Wink News at 11.
Welcome back. This 7-year-old Fort Myers boy is battling leukemia for the 3rd time in his life. As you can imagine, the cost of treatment is outrageous. That's why there was a special fundraiser tonight to help raise money for his treatment. The Nightbeat's Stephanie Byrne has the story.
The thought of having a child with cancer is gut-wrenching.
I hope that they never do experience it.
And having a child in his third battle with cancer is unimaginable.
It's hard. We've been conditioned almost now. I mean, Aiden's been fighting for a little over 2.5 years.
You wouldn't know it by his hobbies.
I like Legos and soccer.
Or by his quickness, but 7-year-old Aiden is fighting B-cell acute lymphoblastic leukemia.
And he is considered very high risk.
Despite the diagnosis, the Pickett family continues fighting.
What makes you proud of him?
Being so brave when he had to go through all of this hard stuff.
When it came time for a bone marrow transplant,
And it turned out that our daughter was almost a perfect match, so she ended up being his donor.
Although unsuccessful, the transplant was just one procedure, racking up medical costs.
We're probably responsible for about $20,000 a year out of pocket just for his medical treatment. That's not living, that's not driving, that's not the 70,000 miles we've put on our van in the last year.
That's where the community steps in, like at Fort Myers Brewing Company's fundraiser Saturday.
Kids should not have to fight cancer, and families that are dealing with things like this should not have to think about their finances.
But in the face of the unthinkable, Aiden isn't alone.
We fight cancer and we fight together.
In Fort Myers, Stephanie Byrne, Wink News, now.
And we have a great update. We've just learned within the hour that they've raised more than $15,000 for Aiden. That includes $7,000 donation from the brewing company and $8,000 from those who attended. Pinellas County deputies searching for 3 men they say stole 27 guns from a gun store. The theft happened early Tuesday morning. Watch as the men park in front of the store and look in the front window before breaking in. Deputies say the truck the men were driving was stolen and abandoned a few miles later. According to the Tampa Bay Times, more than 80,000 guns have disappeared or been stolen in the last decade. And call it a crime of fashion. Sanford police say 4 people broke into an Urban Appeal clothing store and stole 30 pairs of jean shorts, often called jorts. It happened back in July 27th, Police said the jean short theft totaled more than $1,000 so far. There's been no arrests. Well, this man, who has several warrants out for his arrest in Sarasota County, now facing charges of threatening New York Congressman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Investigators say Timothy Ireland Jr. threatened to shoot and kill her over Facebook. Police searched his home in Ohio and didn't find any guns, but they did find bullets. Ireland is expected to be in court next week. Investigators say they now know what caused this massive explosion at a strip mall in Plantation. A report from the state says an open natural gas valve inside a now closed pizza shop is to blame. The blast left 22 people hurt and damaged several buildings, including blowing out the windows of a nearby gym. It's not known yet how or why that gas was turned on. The 2-year-old boy left in a hot van outside a daycare in Oakland Park has been laid to rest. Noah Sneed was left in the van for 5 hours on the 29th. Investigators say the driver of the daycare van turned off the child safety alarm in the bus and didn't realize Sneed was in the back of the van after locking it. The case is under investigation. Well, making ends meet tonight, scammers now targeting people across the country claiming to be a Miami hospital system. Dee Emerson lives just out of Indianapolis. She says she got an offer to work for the Jacksonville Health System in Miami via email. It was a data entry work from home position. She got a check for $4,700 for the equipment, but became suspicious by this large amount.
I want people to be aware that this actually does happen. Anytime you grow suspicious of something, go with that.
Now, one way to spot the scam is to look at the email address. The one that the woman got came from a Gmail account and jacksonhealthsysteminc.com. Now, both of those are not used by the company. Another red flag to spot scams like this is the interview process. In this case, the scammers conducted the interview over the internet and not on the phone or in person. Well, those working in Florida's tourism industry not making what they should when it comes to their wages. A new study from Florida State University finds when the economy goes up by $1, hospitality wages only go up 81 cents. Researchers say the small pay means more money for business owners. However, the study doesn't take into account how much people tip those workers. More than 1.5 million people work in the state's hospitality industry. The White House now ordering more immigration raids like this one in Mississippi this week. According to an immigration official, ICE instructed field officers across the country to identify at least 2 locations in their region as potential targets. On Wednesday, nearly 700 undocumented immigrants were rounded up at 7 meat processing plants in 6 Mississippi cities, separating hundreds of children from their parents on their first day of school.
My dad didn't do nothing. He's not a criminal. Please, can I just see my mother, please? Please. I hope you come back. And that God protects you.
New Mexico has denied a request from ICE to have direct access to the state's workplace data. And in Texas, the Mexican-American Legislative Caucus is launching an investigation into just how much access ICE has to its state employee records.
No human being will ever be illegal.
Protesters in New York City tonight making their voices heard about the raids by ICE. They packed a popular highway, forcing police to shut it down for hours. They had signs reading "Abolish ICE" and "Close the camps." Several people were arrested. And take a look at what was found inside the home of a Michigan police officer, KKK memorabilia. It was discovered by people interested in buying the officer's home. They snapped these pictures showing a Confederate flag and a plaque that read KKK application. The couple posted the photos on Facebook and it got the attention of city leaders. The officer has been put on leave and has gotten the attention of the local NAACP.
We want a thorough investigation to be sure that when he goes out there and puts on that uniform and performs his duties as an officer, that he's being fair and impartial.
Now, the couple that went through the house also want some answers. The officer's wife insists her husband is not a member of the Ku Klux Klan. Well, take a look at this. A pig drawn on the face of a fast food hamburger wrapper and given to a police officer in New Mexico. The officer, who was in a uniform at the time, took a photo of it, and it's now gone viral. As Nightbeat's Stephanie Chavez reports, those responsible for drawing that pig have been fired.
This is the photo that has everyone viewing, sharing, and commenting on it. This pig is what was drawn on the wrapper of a Clovis police officer's burger yesterday afternoon at Burger King.
This is totally wrong, and it's not the way New Mexico is or should ever be.
Officer Timo Rosenthal says he was in uniform when he ordered his meal. He was shocked at the drawing on the wrapper, and on top of that, he says the patties were burned and the burger was of very poor quality.
They're depicting a pig on the drawing, and, you know, that's derogatory.
People are reacting on Facebook saying, quote, "I bet if you ran a check on everyone who laughed at this post, you'd find a ton of arrest warrants." And, quote, "I'm sorry that happened in my state. Thank you for your service."
This is horrible and disgusting.
News 13 reached out to Burger King. They say they've fired 5 employees who were involved.
I think that was excellent. Fire them on the spot.
Still, Officer Rosenthal says he won't be going back.
Well, in a statement, Burger King says the franchise does not support that kind of treatment against anyone, especially law enforcement. And we received hundreds of comments on this story on the Facebook page, our Wink News Facebook page, many saying how they don't understand when it became okay to disrespect law enforcement.
Wink News, the weather authority.
Surprise, surprise, rain showers back with us again late in the morning, early in the afternoon. I'll let you know when you can expect some drier air.
It's called the Cafe of Life, how the group is helping everyone in need, even if they can't get out of their house. And female toy soldiers, why one little girl is trying to get toy companies to create realistic female troops. Welcome back. This Bonita Springs Park packed full of hundreds of kids. Every one of them excited to receive a new backpack filled with supplies and clothes for school. And for families unable to travel, the Cafe of Life bringing support to their front door. The Nightbeat's Melinda Lee has the story.
It's a big help starting all over and getting the supplies that I might not afford to buy.
Caring.
Put a hands up to help them, empower them.
Sharing.
I got a backpack.
Serving.
About 18,000 meals a year.
3 simple words, one message on display above this Bonita Springs cafeteria.
We average about 80 meals a day here.
Volunteers started the Cafe of Life in 1998. At first, they served coffee and donuts to the homeless population, and now
We serve to anybody who shows up regardless of need or income.
all are welcome to enjoy food, clothing, and other services the nonprofit provides through donations and volunteers, even if they can't travel to the cafe.
There are people that can't get here because they have too many kids with them, or they don't have reliable transportation, or live too far away. So we have an outreach program that goes out into these communities, mostly trailer parks, and connects with the people there and helps with their needs as well.
Even adding job training programs to transform lives.
And I started volunteering here because I needed the help. And I came here and, started helping out.
She said she's a volunteer, but she was a client, that she said too. So the clients want to give back too. And the highlight is to see how it has helped this needed community.
Empowering people to rise from poverty and give back. In Bonita Springs, Melinda Lee, Wink News Now.
A lot of good there. Well, the Cafe of Life says it serves about 18,000 hot meals each year. Anyone is welcome to those services Monday through Friday at Linear Park. A Southwest Florida Airlines pilot has brought the remains of his father to its final resting place. Brian Knight was only 5 years old when his father's plane went down in Vietnam. The years passed and Knight's families never knew exactly what happened to him. His remains were identified in June and arrived in California on Wednesday. Knight then flew the plane that contained them from California to their home in Texas.
It's going to be a phenomenal experience for me. I think I'm going to feel very close to him during the flight. You can't imagine what an honor that is for a son to be able to do that for his father.
Wow, what a cool story. Well, a water cannon salute welcomed the flight home. As you see right there, relatives watched along with airport and airline employees as the flag-draped casket was carried off the plane with military honors. A 6-year-old Arkansas girl now asking toy makers to start creating female toy soldiers so she can play with them. Vivian Lord wrote letters saying, quote, "Can you please make Army girls that look like women? I would like to play with them every day, and my friends would too." Her mom says the only female toy soldier out there are pink and don't display the true nature of a female soldier. One toy company says if they get enough support, they will make it happen. And a dog that spent more than 1,000 days at an animal shelter in Central California now has his forever home. Meet Marmaduke. Marmaduke came into the shelter in 2016 without obedience training and was stubborn. He also had skin allergies and required a special diet and special medicine. Shelter officials say Marmaduke quickly caught on and his personality began to shine. The shelter says he is thriving now in his new home and is showing his adopter how grateful he is to be part of their family. And check this out, a man in Maine has caught a 1 in a million lobster for the second time. The man found the cotton candy lobster in his trap last week. The lobster, as you see there, is purple, blue, and pink. The man says he caught the same exact crustacean last October, but he threw it back because it was just too small to keep. This time, however, he is hanging on to it, but he doesn't plan on selling it as well. Pretty impressive. I didn't even know those existed.
Yeah, and he caught it not once, but twice.
Yeah.
I wonder how it tastes.
Like cotton candy. Undoubtedly.
See, that's what
Skittles or Skittles. I think.
If it doesn't taste like cotton candy, I'm not interested.
Just
I
put
don't
it
like
back.
cotton candy.
Just add the butter to it.
I'll add the cotton candy to it.
In terms of the forecast, good day for cotton candy, Andrew, tomorrow. 79 degrees for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. 89 for your afternoon and evening. Just putting that on in there for Andrew. In terms of the full forecast, things remain quite consistent. Andrew will have cotton candy each morning, 90 degrees each and every afternoon, all the way through late next week. Not too bad in terms of that forecast.
I'm getting sick.
Cotton candy.
Cotton candy.
Sugar rush.
I've made myself sick.
See you tomorrow. Have a good night.